Hey guys, another story time of when I studied abroad in China when I was in college. And I went specifically to try out authentic food from China. And I got food poisoning by eating Americanized Chinese food on the first day, maybe first or second day of my trip. And I almost died. So let's get into it. So let's take you guys back. And I think I was about 19 at the time. And my school had a few different study abroad programs. They had one to go to China. And I said, you know what? I think this would be a wonderful opportunity for me to go to Asia. I'd always had an interest in Chinese food. I'm from New York. We have a full range of different cultures and different foods here. But Chinese food in particular was one of my dad's favorite cuisines. And growing up, we ate a lot of authentic Chinese food that was available here in the States. But I just figured how wonderful it would be to actually go to China and have that experience of trying out different Chinese cuisines. I was a really big foodie at the time. I would watch cartoons and the Food Channel. Those were my two favorite things to watch as a kid. So no shocker here that I would actually be motivated to travel for food. I was going to school at Brooklyn College at the time. And like I mentioned to you guys, I was interested in a study abroad program. I asked my cousin if she would go with me because I felt like it would be better. Like my parents would probably feel more comfortable if I was going with someone that they trusted. And my cousin did study abroad programs, I believe 2 times prior to the time that I asked her to go on this trip. So we got our parents on board and off to China we went, and I was so excited. So our first touchdown, first of all, the flight, we did a straight flight from New York to Beijing. And I have never been on a flight that long in my whole entire life. And my cousin had. And she took like a NyQuil or something. And she knocked out the whole time. So we get to Nanjing now. And our meal after our long trip was to this, like, it was a big, like, dining hall. And they had Americanized Chinese food. And I was like, boo, this shit. Like, literally, I remember being like, oh, this shit whack. Because I really didn't come all the way out here to have all of the corny Americanized food. But I was like, you know what? I'm starving. Let's eat it. Y'all, nobody else on that trip got sick but me. And when I tell y'all, I thought I was going to die in China. I had never gotten sick like that. I am a foodie. Like I mentioned, I experiment and I try any type of food almost anywhere. At that time, I had no fear in terms of like food and food poisoning. And oh my God, I had never been that sick. And I was sick for the majority of our trip. Yes. While everybody else was doing fun stuff, I was literally throwing up and using the bathroom that whole trip. It was so bad to the point where I literally called my mom crying like, can you please get me a plane ticket to come home? This trip cost thousands of dollars, by the way. And I'm like, I need to come home. And it's so, I don't come from rich parents. It was already a lot to ask them to let me do this, but they would do something like that for education. And the fact that I wanted to go home said a lot. I was terrified. I'm like, I don't speak the language. It took a while before someone who was on a trip who actually spoke the native language and was kind enough to take me to a pharmacy and help me buy medicine. I think I was sick at that point for like a few days, but well enough to actually leave the hotel and go outside. Before that, I literally stayed in the hotel room. And when I was not throwing up, I was doing homework. So I got all of my work done before everybody else because I was sick and I could not go out and have fun with anybody. Before I got sick, I did get to go up on the Wall of China, which was really awesome. When I was finally feeling better and felt, alive enough to do stuff, I was still very nervous about eating food. But I don't think I mentioned to you guys, one of my projects was still about trying out authentic Chinese food. So we actually had one day on our trip where we went to a college out in China, and we got to meet some of the students and collaborate with them on our overall project. And we told him that our project was about authentic Chinese food. Guys, he invited us to his grandmother's home to try authentic Chinese food made by his Chinese grandmother, okay? I never tried food as interesting and as like delicious ever in my life. It was so good. It was foods I've never seen before. Like, this is not the stuff that you can go to your local Chinese food. Even when you go to Chinatown and they have like certain places like where you can get food, like you would have to know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that I wouldn't go to even an authentic Chinese restaurant here in New York in order, because like I wouldn't know what it was. So it was so good to be able to have it from someone like, this is her culture, this is her story. She probably passed these recipes down from her ancestors, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences. And I'm so glad that at that point I felt better enough to try it. But I'm not gonna lie, I was I was nervous because I knew my body just wasn't at its peak. All right, this eyeshadow isn't as bad as I thought. I'm not gonna put on lashes or anything like that because I'm gonna possibly take it all off. But in a nutshell, although I almost died in China from food poisoning on a quest to try food, that trip was so life-changing for me. Like, it's crazy how all of your life experiences kind of lead you to where you are in your life, and how things kind of like come full circle. Part of why I'm so open to different people's cultures, number one, being from New York helps because we were around so many different types of people. But when you put yourself in someone else's world for more than like a vacation, and you like stay and you live there and you are around the people, I did not speak much of the language outside of hi, bye, and thank you. And we pretty much walked around with translators the whole time, which, you know, we got through, but it would have really helped if it was required that we took basic language before we went out there. But anyway, I am so accepting of different people and their cultures and people's way of life. Like, I remember towards the ending of our stay in Nanjing, there was a really nice park in walking distance from our hotel. And in the morning, the elderly people in the neighborhood would do like this exercise dance. I'm sure there's a name to it. Please forgive me if I'm ignorant. I don't know the name to it, but I'm just sharing this experience because I think it's important. And to see that was just so beautiful. It's like a community of people who get together and exercise together on a regular basis. And it was just so beautiful to see. It was like tranquil in a way, just to watch it. And in New York City, in Chinatown, they do the same exact thing in certain parks. You see the same exact thing. So when I saw it in New York, I'm like, oh, I know what they're doing. I was able to see it, you know, firsthand when I was on this trip. And it makes me a little bit less nervous when I go to Chinatown or other places with different cultures of people and try new things out, because I can say firsthand that I've experienced being there outside of just being a tourist. Even though I might not have gone to that specific place in particular, when you push yourself out of your comfort zone and you know, experience other people's culture in a different way, you can just appreciate the differences in people, and also how those differences sometimes lead to the similarities that we all have, because we all have similarities, you know. This eye, oh, it's giving kind of now, right? No?